What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Around the NBA, a podcast where I get my thoughts on the latest news, transactions, teams, and players across the league. So, before I get into this episode, I wanted to apologize to you because I realized I did not wish you a happy new year and a happy holidays. And I literally dropped my last episode on New Year's Eve. So, I am really sorry about that. I was just so focused on my first video episode, which was my last one, that I just completely forgot of the season that we were in. And afterwards, I'm like, what is wrong with me? Why did I not wish my listeners a happy holiday and a happy new year? And I'm sorry. I apologize. But I just wanted to clear the air and apologize and wish you guys a belated happy holidays and a belated happy new year. And I hope you guys had a great time during the holiday season. And if you guys have some New Year's resolutions this year, stick with them. Just continue to grind, push yourselves to whatever your goal was for 2022. It's only week 2. So I'm including myself in this. If you have kind of fallen off already, like me, just continue to push. Just get back on track. It's still really early. So I hope all your guys' goals and dreams and wishes for this year come true. So with that, let's get into this episode. So seeing that we're in the halfway point of the season right now, yes, we're at the halfway point. I know a lot of people believe that the halfway mark is like the All-Star break and the All-Star game. No, it's like right now. Most teams have played 40 or 41 out of the 82 games of the season as of right now. So we're literally right in the smack dab of the middle of the season. So because we're at the halfway point, there was a lot of ideas and a lot of topics I wanted to discuss. And I was actually going to record this episode yesterday, but life happens and that's okay. So I posted it to today, and I'm kind of glad I did, because there was a game last night and there was a result that happened last night that I'm like, I have to talk about that. I have to. So my original topics were going to be my biggest surprise team and my biggest surprise player. And I might talk about the player, for sure talking about the team, but might talk about the player, but we'll see. And but there was a game last night and I just had to talk about it. So I want to get into it. So the first topic of discussion is the Chicago Bulls. So the reason why I wanted to talk about the Bulls, because one, they're my team. And I know I haven't talked about them a whole lot this year. And there's a reason for that. And I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before in previous episodes. And the reason why is I want to give the opportunity, like during my episodes, to talk about other teams. Like my whole thing is across the league. So I want to talk about other teams, other players, and show love to other teams and other players, and just show appreciation and just learn about what other teams are doing. Because I know what my team is doing. I know what the players on my team are doing. You know what I'm saying? So I want to focus in on other teams and other players. So that's my whole thing. So that's why I don't talk about the Bulls so much, even though I know there's been a huge hype train behind them this year. And don't get me wrong, I'm on that hype train, all right? Like, in my heart, I'm definitely there. All right. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. Just because I don't talk about them don't mean I don't love my Bulls. Of course I do. But I just don't talk about them so much is because I want to talk about other teams. And the second thing is, again, I'm not trying to be biased, and I don't want to come up here and just talk about the Bulls and talk about how great they've been doing all year long. No, because that's also I don't want to come off as biased. So if I talk about them, I'm going to be as real as possible. And I know if there's some fans out there that they're going to talk about the Bulls. Nothing but, I would say, kind of delusion. Like, people are sold that they're going to the Eastern Conference Finals. They're finals worthy. And I'm just like, let's pump the brakes. All right, let's just chill. Let's slow our roll on that, okay? Because another reason why I wanted to talk about them is because of the results last night against a team like the Brooklyn Nets. But before I get into that, I just wanted to mention, yes, I've been really impressed with what the Bulls have done this year. I'm not going to deny that. There's no question that they've been terrific this regular season. DeMar DeRozan has been the biggest surprise to me because I was one of his biggest doubters. I wouldn't say doubters. I was just very questioning that signing. I'm like, he can't really shoot the three. He can't really defend, and we're paying him all this money. However, he has shut me up real quick. So I got to give him all the props. And just shout out to DeMar, man, because he is balling out this year. He's been clutch. He's had clutch shots, clutch moments, just down the stretch. He's hit big buckets. I mean, he's in MVP conversation right now. him and Zach LaVine. But DeMar, man, he's been balling. So I got to give him all the props. LaVine, I knew he was a baller. I knew he was a bucket since last year. So I knew he was just going to do his thing this year. And I'm glad he finally has a team around him. Not the trash that he's been running with for the last 7, 8 years or however long he's been in the league. At least it feels like that. Like he's just been here for so long and he just can't get a break. Vucevic, I think he's one of the most underrated players in the league right now. He's averaging like 16 and 11, having a pretty solid year. He's not averaging, what he did in Orlando. He was like a walking 20 and 10 guy, but 16 and 11 is still pretty solid, and his efficiency isn't there. Like as a big man, it should be definitely higher. He's only shooting like 43% from the field, but he's shooting like 34% from three, which is pretty good for a big man. And he takes like 3 or 4 threes a game, so that's not bad. But my biggest, I wouldn't say because he's on the Bulls and he's been doing great on the Bulls, but my biggest surprise for his career has been Lonzo Ball. Like there's nobody in this league. I'm not gonna say that, but at least for me, like there's nobody in this league that I've personally can attest to or witnessed like their growth and maturity as a player. Like this man has gone from being trashed in LA, saying, can he cut it in this league? I mean, no one was really saying that, but you know what I'm saying? Like cut it out as a starter. Just because he was a number 2 overall pick. I do believe he was picked a little bit high, but there's nobody that I can really recall that's worked on their game as much as Lonzo Ball. I'm sure there are players out there. Maybe I'm just being biased because he plays for the Bulls, but I mean, this is his first year on the Bulls, but I saw the evolution of his game from LA to New Orleans to here. Like his shot, he is a lethal shooter now. Like he's shooting almost 7.5 threes a game, and he's hitting like 45% of them. That is absolutely insane. 45% from 3, and he's shooting like almost 8, between 7 and 8. Like that is crazy, bro. Like that is insane. He's a lethal shooter. So not only can you just not leave him open now, you got to put a hand in his face or else he's going to hit it on you. Like, so I have nothing but respect for him because he's definitely put in that work. We've always known he's been a solid defender. We've always known he's been a solid floor general and a playmaker. But the question mark was his offensive scoring ability and can he shoot? Because when he came out of UCLA, like people were talking about him like being a solid shooter, but he just had like a funky looking shot. Now his shot he's got a nice looking shot, like for real. So I've been really impressed with how his career just has turned out. Like I don't think he's second overall pick level because that's franchise altering level player. And I don't think he's that, but he's definitely put in the work to become the player that he has been. So shout out to Lonzo, man. I'm not gonna say I was super hyped with that signing, but I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with that. If this was a few years ago, I would have been like, what are we doing? But after, what I've seen from him, I'm like, yeah, I like that signing. I know we were trying to get him in like the trade deadline last year. It just didn't happen, but I knew we were probably going to get him in the offseason. So far, I think that's been a good signing for them. And yeah, man, Billy Donovan as well. Like, I think he's been a solid coach. So just overall, I've been really impressed with this Bulls team and what they've been doing this regular season. Now, the reason why I've been pumping the brakes on this team is because I don't know how good they're going to be come playoff time. I can't sit here and say that they're contenders in the East until we get into the playoffs. So when I hear someone say they're contenders, they're title contenders, they're Eastern Conference Finals contenders, I don't know. I just don't know, man. And like I said, we're not going to get that answer until we get into the playoffs. So I'm not going to sit here and say, yep, we're contenders for sure, because I don't know. I don't know if this team is built for the regular season or if they're built for the playoffs. Like, are they going to be? Because how many times have we seen a team kill it in the regular season and then come playoff time, they just disappear? The Utah Jazz last year. We've seen this with DeMar DeRozan with the Toronto Raptors. Not to call him out and throw him under the bus like that, but I'm just saying. The Lob City Clippers. All these teams were regular season built, and then come playoff time, they just disappeared. So I don't know if this team is going to be something like that. So until we get into the playoffs, that's going to give me a clearer picture of if they're actually contenders or if they're just built for the regular season. So when I hear someone say, yep, they're playoff, finals bound or Eastern Conference Finals bound, I'm like, don't know about that. I don't know about that because Like I said, we've seen it time and time again. And I just don't know if we're built to beat the Brooklyn Nets in a 7-game series and the Milwaukee Bucks in a 7-game series. Now, I know last night is just one game in the regular season. It doesn't tell the whole story, and it doesn't define what's going to happen in the playoffs for sure. But I just don't see us being able to beat those two teams in the playoffs. And the reason why I mentioned last night is because we played the Nets and they just crushed us. We lost by almost, we lost by 20. We were down almost 40 at one point. Like, it wasn't even close. And Kyrie had a bad game. So I know you're going to have off games like that, and it's just going to happen. But the Nets fully healthy, I just don't see us being able to compete with them. Like them with Kyrie on that team, fully ready to go. I don't know how we compete with them, because yes, we have solid defenders and Lonzo Ball and Alex Caruso, and Javonte Green, and Jones Jr. Like, we have solid defenders, but we don't have the defenders that are physically capable of keeping up with someone like a Giannis or a Kevin Durant. Like a PJ Tucker. Like, we don't have somebody like that. So we have several bodies, but they're just too small. We won't be able to defend those two players. So that's why I'm concerned. Yeah, we have a solid team defense, and maybe we can shut them down as a team collectively. But I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, we have a solid offense, and we do have an okay defense. Like, we're 8th in offensive rating in the league, and 14th in defensive rating, which is a lot better than I thought we were going to be coming into the season. But still, I can't answer that question. Like, people ask me, do you think they're contenders all the time? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, if you're going to base it off the regular season, their performance and how they're doing, like their regular season record, sure, they're absolutely contenders, but we don't go by that. I'm not going to go by that. I'm going to wait to see until the playoffs come around. So I won't get that answer till another 3 months from now. So I got a long way to go. You know what I'm saying? But until then, I'm not going to sit here and say, yep, we're going to the finals. Yep, we're going to the Eastern Conference Finals. So that's why I've been pumping the brakes on this hype train, because I just don't know how we're built. And I won't get an answer for a while. So overall, Bulls have been playing great. They've been playing fantastic. I'm excited. I'm part of that hype train, but I'm not going to go overboard with that. That's why my expectations for them are right here. You can't even see them, like down here. Okay? Because if they exceed that and they go farther in the playoffs than I anticipate them to, great. If they don't, well, my expectations were already down here. And that's what I had them at for the regular season. My expectations were way down here. And then now in the regular season, boom, hyped. But now playoff time, come back down, and let's see what happens. But until then, I'm going to keep rocking with them, and I'm going to be hyped. But I'm going to pump the brakes on saying outlandish things like they're Eastern Conference Finals bound and they're Finals bound, because I just don't know. And I won't get that answer until April. Now, moving on to the team that I really wanted to discuss when I was thinking about this topic. Not that I didn't want to talk about the Bulls. Of course, I'm always down to talk about the Bulls. All right, don't get me wrong. But when I was thinking about this topic, this was a team I was thinking about. This has been by far my biggest surprise of this season so far, outside of the Bulls. And that is the Memphis Grizzlies. I mean, the Memphis Grizzlies have been outstanding this year. They are 28-14. They're 4th in the West. I think they're 5th in offensive rating. They're 10th in defensive rating. So they're top 5 in offense and top 10 in defense. The reason why they've been my biggest surprise is because outside of John Morant, they have a very good team. Like a solid team. And I actually had them 9th coming into the season. Like, I had them going into the play-in and losing. I just thought that's how competitive the West was going to be. But man, they have been great. They are what I thought the Dallas Mavericks were going to be this year. Not to say the Dallas Mavericks have been bad, but this is what I thought the Dallas Mavericks were going to do with Luka and them boys. But the Grizzlies, man, they have been great. And they just have, like, solid pieces. Like, I didn't think they were this good coming into the season. Like, Desmond Bane has been very good. I think he's averaging, like, 17, 18 a game. Dylan Brooks is averaging 18 a game. Jackson Jr. is averaging like 13, 15 a game. They're just like, Bane is a terrific player. Like, he's a solid defender, very good scorer. Dylan Brooks, I didn't realize he was averaging 18 a game. Like, I'm like, this guy's a very good two-way player. I mean, I thought he was more of a defender than like a offensive scorer, but this guy's a bucket. He's averaging 18 a game. So I think the biggest surprise to me this year that comes from this team is the record without Ja. Without Ja Morant, they are 11-2. So that is very good. That's just how good this team is. So I didn't think they had. I didn't think Ja had the help that he does. I didn't think so. Like I just didn't know the Grizzlies like that. Like I knew they were solid. Like the year before the bubble, they just missed the playoffs. Last year they got into the playoffs. They beat the Golden State Warriors in the play-in, and then this year they took a huge leap forward, like a huge leap. And I'm loving this team. Like I've watched several of their games this year. I'm loving them. Ja Morant, man. And this is why, and what I just said, like the fact that they're 11-2 without him, this is why I can't put him in the MVP conversation. As much as I want to, and as much as he's been playing great, I can't put him up there because the team has been playing great without him, which is unfortunate. But I know a lot of people might say that he should be in the MVP conversation, but that's kind of hard to say because, like I just said, they're 11-2 without him. So they have more than like a winning record, and they have a pretty decent size sample size. I don't know what I just said. They have a pretty size sample size. They have a pretty big sample size. Okay, they have 13 games without him, and they've only lost 2. So that is pretty remarkable. That's just a testament to how good this team is. But Ja Morant, man, don't get it wrong. Like, don't get it twisted. He's having a very good year. Like a very good year. These are his stats for this season. He's averaging 25, 6, and 5.7. Almost 7 and 6. Shooting 48, basically 49%. And his 3-point percentage is at 38%. Like, he is pretty efficient this year. 25, 7, and 7, or 6. Off that shooting percentage, yeah, he's having a great year. But the reason, like I said, I can't put him in the MVP conversation is because his team has proven that they can win without him. Now, I don't know if they would continue to win that way without him, but they had a decent stretch there without him, and they were just fine. But that just shows he's got a team, right? He's got some help. And I didn't think he had the help that he does coming into the season. So the Memphis Grizzlies are a danger come playoff time. I really do believe so. Like, Ja Morant he's big time. I don't think he's a superstar yet, but he's getting there. Definitely getting there. Once he gets to the playoffs, if he gets into the second round, that's a decent playoff run. Like if he gets to the second round and they take it to like 6-7 games, and if they lose, depending on who they lose to, that's solid. That is very solid. Like if they play the Suns or the Warriors in the second round and they take it to 6-7 games, they've by far exceeding a lot of people's expectations. Now, if they make it to the Western Conference Finals, wow, that's huge. That is a huge accomplishment for this team. But we'll just have to see. They're another one of those teams where, kind of like I just mentioned, the Bulls, we won't know what they're capable of until playoff time come around. And can they continue to play this level? I know they don't have Dylan Brooks right now. He just got hurt, and I think he's going to be out for quite some time, like 4 to 6 weeks or something like that. So he's going to miss some decent playing time. But overall, this team has just been very good. Just very good. And I saw this TikTok. On about Ja Morant from Dean Scorpion, I think is his name on TikTok. Good guy. I don't know him, but he just seems like a good guy. He made this TikTok saying that Ja Morant's season has been more impressive than Derrick Rose's MVP season. And I'm like, that's not a crazy take. He's putting up Derrick Rose numbers on better efficiency. Derrick Rose averaged 25. He averaged 1 more assist than him. Derrick Rose was actually like exactly 25 points, 7.7 assists, and like 4 or 5 rebounds. So fairly similar to what Derrick Rose put up, but he had better efficiency. But he's having better efficiency. Like Derrick Rose shot like 45% from the field. 3-point percentage was nowhere near that, and he wasn't taking as many threes as that. Granted, that wasn't really part of the game back then. I mean, it was 2011. 3-point shooting like that didn't really happen until Steph Curry really came into the map, which is like 2013, 14. So a couple years before the 3-point barrage really took place. But still, Ja Morant is having a phenomenal year. So I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's not an outlandish thing to say. Like, he's putting up, it's more impressive than Derrick Rose's season. Individually, I would say so. I would say so because he's, like I said, he's putting up very similar numbers on better efficiency. So I think this season John Moran is having, dare I say, a better season than Derrick Rose's MVP year. He is. And I get it. Like Derrick Rose, like the Bulls were fantastic. Like they were 62-20 that year when he won MVP. Well, actually, that was a shortened. Or was it? No, the next year was a shortened year. The 2011, I think the Bulls were like 62-20. They were the number one seed in the league. Following year, they were too. So as an individual, or like as a team basis, no, like they're not having like as good of a year as the Bulls did. But on an individual basis, you can have that conversation. You can have that argument that John Moran is having a slightly, if not more impressive, better, or slight, what am I saying? He's having a more impressive season than Derrick Rose. On an individual basis, I can't necessarily dispute that. But Memphis Grizzlies, man, having a terrific year. My biggest surprise of the season. I think they can make some noise in the playoffs, just as much as the Bulls. I know I didn't say that when I was talking about them, but I think the Bulls can definitely make some noise. But this Grizzlies can definitely make some noise. I mean, they've beaten the Warriors a couple times. I think they've beaten the Suns a couple times. Like just in this 10-game winning streak, they've beaten the Suns, they've beaten the Nets, they've beaten the Cavs, they've beaten the Lakers twice, and they've beaten the Warriors in this 10-game stretch. So they've beaten some big teams and some good teams. So the Grizzlies, man, I'm huge on them. I hope they continue to play this way, and I hope they make some real noise in the playoffs. So Memphis Grizzlies, by far, my biggest surprise of the season so far. So you remember at the beginning of the episode, or early in the episode, when I was saying there was two players that have been really a big surprise to me for this season. And if there was time, or if I decided to talk about the other player, I would. Because Ja was the player I was talking about. Like, he's part of the team that's been one of the biggest surprises to me. But I figured, why not talk about the other player? I feel like he deserves it. And that player is Trae Young. Trae Young is averaging 28, 10, and 4 off 45% from the field, 37% from 3, 90% from the line. That is ridiculous. That is fourth in scoring, third in assists, and he's top 10 in efficiency rating. I think he's exactly at 10. He's having a great year this year. But his team isn't performing, so he's not going to get the recognition. But man, I think Trae Young this year, for this season, is the best guard in the NBA. As of right now, Trae Young is the best guard in the league. Now, if you want to tell me, if you want to say James Harden is better, like overall, I can't disagree with that. I think, yeah, sure, James Harden is better than Trae Young. If you want to say Luka is better than Trae Young, yeah, sure, I can say that. Fine. Steph Curry, yeah, he's better than Trae Young. But as of right now, for this season, who's putting up better numbers, who's having a better individual season? It's Trae Young. Trae Young is having a better individual season than all those guys. And to be honest, like Trae Young, I slept on him for a long time up until the playoffs last year. I mean, he had a terrific playoff run. Like the moment when I saw him and what the Hawks did to the Knicks last year, I'm like, these guys are for real. Like they're a threat in these playoffs. I'm like, they could definitely beat the Sixers, which they did. I didn't know if they were able or capable of beating the Bucks, and then once Trae got hurt, I'm like, yeah, they're done. But I mean, they were slept on, and the moment they beat the Knicks, I'm like, this team's legit. And that's what I'm kind of expecting or hoping to see from the Bulls. So until I see that, then I can't call them contenders. But when I saw that from the Hawks last year, I'm like, yeah, these guys are contenders, because it wasn't even close against the Knicks, and the Knicks were the 4th seed. So once I saw that, I'm like, this kid is the real deal. That team is the real deal. This year, I don't know what's going on with the team as a whole. Like overall, I don't know what's going on with the Hawks. But Trae Young is playing phenomenal. 28, 10, 45% from the field, 37% from 3. I absolutely believe Trae Young and John Morant are top 10 players in the NBA right now. They definitely deserve to be in the conversation. And that was something I was going to discuss, or I wanted to discuss, like give my list of my top 10 players at this point, the halfway point of the season. And you know what? Let's do it. Why not? No particular order. I'm not going to really go into detail, but my top 10 players in the NBA right now are, in no particular order, Giannis, KD, Jokic, LeBron, Steph. That's 5. 6, Joel, Trae, Ja, DeMar, Zach. That's 10. So those are my top 10 players in the NBA right now. Zach has impressed me, but I knew he was capable of this from last year. DeMar's definitely impressed me. Trae Young and Ja Morant have definitely impressed me. And I think Trae is having the best individual season for a guard this year. And just like I said, Ja Morant is having a better individual season or a more impressive season. He's a little bit closer to Derrick Rose. Trae Young, I would say, is having a better individual season than MVP Rose. Without question. Without question. He's averaging 28 and 10 off better efficiency. He's definitely having a better individual statistical year than Derrick Rose. Absolutely he is. Absolutely he is. But again, he's not going to get the recognition he deserves because the Hawks are winning. Which is why I believe he should be in the MVP conversation. But because his team isn't winning, he's not going to get that. And that's why I really do believe team success is super overrated when it comes to MVP in the MVP talks. I don't think it should be that heavily weighted because players like Trae having great seasons, team isn't winning, he's not going to get recognized. But he's having a better year than Steph, but Steph is being recognized because his team is winning. Yeah, I understand that might be a hot take, but Trae Young is having a better individual season than Steph Curry. It's just the truth. It is what it is. He is. So my most impressive team so far this year, at this point of the season, Memphis Grizzlies. My most impressive players, Ja Morant and Trae Young. So it's just some final words to wrap up the show. Again, I apologize for not saying happy holidays last episode and happy new year. I apologize. But again, happy holidays, happy new year. For those of you guys who have New Year's resolutions, continue to grind, continue to work towards that resolution, whatever it may be. I'm right there with you guys. Just continue to grind, continue to put in that work and that effort, and it's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, other than that, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys are on YouTube, please comment, like. If you want to subscribe, please subscribe. If you're listening to me on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you're listening to me as well, comment, like. If you want to subscribe, please subscribe. Please follow me on all my social media handles, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. They're all at @AroundTheNBA_podcast. Thank you guys so much again, and I'll see you guys next time.